Hello, everybody. So, there's lots of talk about ego death. And the idea is you kill your ego and you no longer associate with this separate self because you've got no ego. And therefore you become everything and you're enlightened. And there there's no worries anymore because you're not the body, you're everything. You're not even the world. The world could be destroyed by an asteroid and it still doesn't matter because you will always be. And there will be other worlds that will arise within you, like a boat in an ocean. So, but the ego is part of, in Sanskrit, is called ahamkara. So ahamkara means the I maker, the thing that makes the I. So it's not really the separate self. I think sometimes because we've got it coming from Freudian psychology, Jungian psychology, some other types of psychology, and different teachers that talk about the ego. Now, and sometimes it seems like the ego is something which wants to stop you from getting enlightenment because you're going to kill it and then it'll slink off into a corner and die. But before it does that, it's going to really make your life hell because it's not going to let you get rid of the ego. Now, this is not the case, okay? The ego is not a separate being. It's not some devil sitting on your shoulder trying to make your life misery and trying to stop you from getting enlightenment. The ego is an illusion, and we have to see that it's an illusion, that this idea of forming the I is a process that we have evolved so that we can survive in the world, in this world, that this relative transactional reality that we live in, where we have to eat and go to work and do all the things and help people and run away from other people. We need to protect the body. Maybe you could say, no, I don't want to protect the body. I want to kill my ego. I want to get enlightened. And then what? Fall in a ditch and die. You wouldn't be able to work if you didn't know who you are. At certain points, you need the eye maker to put somebody here to tell you which mouth to put the food in. It's part of your mind. You've got your mind, you've got memory, intellect, the thoughts and emotions, and your body. You've got your liver, your kidneys, your heart, and all these things are what keep the body going. If you lost all your memory, it wouldn't be particularly good. There are some non-dual teachers like John Klein who talk about living without memory. So everyone you meet them fresh. You react to the moment spontaneously, not from any preconceived ideas of the moment. And this is really good. And maybe I'll make a video about that at some point. But in the same way, it's not like completely blanking your memory so you don't know who you are, where you are. In the same way, the ego is not something that you completely need to eradicate so that you no longer know who you are or where you are or which body belongs to you and which door is yours or which keys open your door. The ego is not one thing. It's a whole load of thoughts, like a swarm of thoughts that come after other actions. So it has the action of claiming possession. So things that are yours, my body, my hand, my mind, my thought, I. And then it has the action of claiming doership. So I did that. That was me that did that. And in this way, we're able to navigate the world because it gives us this feedback of it's us that's doing things. Brad Warner spoke once, this Zen teacher who's online, who I like. He spoke once about, he thinks that he's never really met, he thinks that a lot of teachers, spiritual teachers, might have had some sort of enlightenment. But in his way of talking, he says it goes away. You can't be enlightened all the time. I don't really agree. I think, we are enlightened all the time, but we don't realize it. But anyway, so he says that the only person he ever met, and he moves in these circles, who he thought was constantly enlightened, was somebody he described as like a snail without its shell, and that people need to take care of them. And it's similar to what happened to Ramana Maharshi when he got enlightened. He stopped taking care of his body. He lived in a cave. There were insects on his body. His hair grew long and matted. And in the mountain Arunachala, he lived under a temple, and eventually people started taking care of him, and he was okay in the end, but luckily. Now these thoughts that come up, they're not even there all the time. When you're driving a car, you're not constantly thinking, I'm driving. You're basically just driving, and it's not even you that's driving. It's kind of the car. You're not your body, you're kind of the whole car, and maybe you're parts of the road too. Maybe you're even the space between you and other cars. This is also some aspect of yourself that you're controlling. And maybe sometimes you are the other cars, which is why you get frustrated when they behave differently as to how you expect them to behave. This is happening automatically. There is no ego there. Then occasionally it jumps in and claims. It says, that was me driving. That's me driving. Oh, it was me that did that. It was him that did that. Now, the ego is a useful tool, therefore. It keeps our lives running. But when we associate too much with the ego, as we do in modern society, all these functions of claiming things, possessing things, and claiming doership, power, and the desire to be able to do things or not be able to do things, our feeling of agency in the world, all of this, trying to control things, trying to possess things, because our culture is so egocentric, it becomes an illness. It's making the modern world a very unhappy place. International conflicts, because remember, we're not even just ourselves. The idea of the self, as you saw with the car, it can expand to the car, but it can expand to your country too. And if somebody invades your country or something like that, you feel problems. There's dis-ease, there's dissatisfactoriness, and you're trying to respond with something, violence or whatever. And this causes all this international conflict, all the greed in the world, all of this negative stuff that keeps a lot of the world unhappy and in poverty and in conflict and in wars. It's all because we're putting the ego as the ruler of our self. Now, so seeing through the ego, seeing that it's not something that we need to get rid of, but it's a useful tool. Like, you don't need to get rid of your kidney. If you got rid of your kidneys or your liver, you would die. If you got rid of your ego, you also wouldn't survive very long. But it's something that we have to realize the game it's playing. And we have to continue with our path of understanding that we're not this separate self, and understanding the role that the ego is playing, that it brings up the character that we are when we need it. And that's a very healthy way to be to work. Swami Sarvapriyananda gave a great example of, he saw a black and white film, I think, Charlie Chaplin, I think, and he was in a factory, and his job was to turn something with a spanner, and he stopped working, but he went home, or he spoke to the foreman or something, and because he was so habituated into turning these bolts with the spanner, he turned the foreman's nose, or whoever it was. And that's what we're doing. We need to know when it's right to use the personality. When we need it, it comes forward. it's thought and the ego and the personality is not something that we need to be using all the time. When you have a hammer, you think everything in the world is a nail, but it's something that we needn't obsessively do. We needn't obsessively think. We needn't obsessively try to see how the self is, feed the self, get the ego happy. We just need to realize that they are things that help us, but stay true on our path of trying to explore through self-inquiry what we are and try to discover who we really are, rather than this separate, vulnerable thing that we think we are. So there we go. That's my opinion of the ego. And Sri Ramakrishna said, "Let the rascals stay." Eliminating the ego in today's world, he said, is too difficult. A lot of the world, in the past, maybe when we were more spiritual beings, in previous epochs, maybe we were just floating around in the mind of God. We didn't need to look after the body. But now, in this world, in the Kali Yuga, he called it, the ego's strong, and let the rascals stay. It's helping you out. Well, there we go. So, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.